Welcome to tonight's journey with me. Tonight we begin with 1602nd America, where nature doesn't forgive and neither do people. A land without names, without borders, just endless forests, dying campfires, and a day so long you'll be begging for it to end, by any means necessary. You'll wake up in a torn-up lean-to next to a pile of ash, with an empty stomach, frozen limbs, and absolutely no concept of the word safety. This isn't an adventure, it's a test. But don't worry, you're not alone. I'm here to tell the story, and you. All you have to do is listen. Before we begin, pace. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see people from across the world sharing this exact moment together. Now then, turn off the lights. Huge. Set a quiet fan to hum in the background. Put on your headphones. In a few seconds, the screen will slowly fade to black, not a glitch, but a gentle way to reduce the blue light that interferes with your melatonin, that vital hormone that helps you sleep deeply and restfully. A little darkness tells your brain, it's time to unwind. And now, let's begin. Congratulations, you've made it through the night. Not comfortably, not dry, and definitely not warm, but technically you survived. Barely. Your eyes blink open to a world that is grey, wet, and unforgiving. You're not in a bedroom, you're in a sagging lean-to made from sticks, bark, and desperation, wedged into the side of a wind-battered hill in what will someday be called New England. Right now it's just wilderness, and it hates you. There's no mattress, no blankets, just a straw mat crawling with something that bites, but doesn't introduce itself. You slept in your only set of clothes, which are now damp, stiff, and smell like mold met regret. Your back hurts, your feet are cold, and something just scurried over your ankle. You don't scream, you're too tired. Besides, the scream might attract something worse. Your breath fogs in the morning air. It's summer technically, but that doesn't mean anything. You're already sweating from fear and shivering from exposure. The air smells like wet wood, old smoke and decay. Somewhere nearby a raven cackles. It knows something you don't. There's no alarm clock, no phone, no snooze button. Your wake-up call is a distant scream in the forest, followed by silence. Was it human? You hope not. You hope it was a fox. You hope it wasn't the man who went out to fetch water last night and never came back. You try to stand, but your legs disagree. They're sore from hauling wood, digging ditches, and running from mosquitoes the size of apples. Your joints snap, crackle, and pop in protest. You wince. No ibuprofen. No coffee. Just pain, ambient fear, and the distant hum of insects that may or may not be carnivorous. You shuffle to the edge of your shelter. The forest is endless. Trees twist into the fog like they're whispering secrets. Somewhere in that green abyss is your food, your firewood, your water source, and at least 5 ways to die before noon. No one's coming to help. There's no ranger station, no hospital, no friendly neighbor with spare batteries. There's just you, a blunted knife, and a strong chance of dysentery. Your tribe, if you can call the 8 other sunburned, flea-bitten survivors a tribe, is waking up around you, coughing, groaning, trying to stretch without tearing something vital. You think of home, your real home, the one with microwaves and showers and people who don't die from infected splinters. That place is gone. That place is a fairy tale now. This is reality, and it's only 6:00 a.m. Let's talk about toilets, or rather, the complete absence of them. It hits you sometime after dawn, your stomach groans, your intestines shift like tectonic plates, and you realize nature isn't calling, it's yelling. Politely ignoring it is no longer an option. You need to go, now. You look around, but there's no bathroom, no stall, no modest outhouse with a door and dignity. There's just forest. Infinite, damp, bug-infested forest. Welcome to 1602nd America, where every tree is a potential witness and every bush hides judgmental squirrels. Privacy, that's adorable. You grab a wooden spade, the latrine tool, and shuffle away from camp, hoping no one's watching, knowing they probably are. There's an unspoken rule here. Don't make eye contact with anyone carrying that shovel. You find a spot that doesn't look cursed, dig a shallow hole with trembling hands and brace yourself. You squat in the underbrush, your pants tangled around your ankles, your shame exposed to the breeze and every god that might be watching. The ground squelches beneath you. A twig stabs your thigh. A mosquito finds your butt and takes it personally. You try to be fast, but fast isn't an option. You regret last night's undercooked corn mash. You regret everything. You reach for something. Leaves, bark, moss. You pray it's not poison ivy. Toilet paper doesn't exist. Not even the rough brown stuff. Just whatever you can find, fold and pretend is sanitary. The results are inconsistent. You leave the woods, not clean but changed. You bury the evidence like a war crime, and return to camp with haunted eyes. And then just as you're about to reclaim your composure, someone else strolls past you with the shovel. They nod. You nod. Nothing is said. Everything is understood. Some camps, the lucky ones, have communal trench latrines. Basically, a long open grave you contribute to daily. No walls, no separation, just raw togetherness. If you're a woman, good luck. Modesty doesn't exist. Everyone sees everything, and no one pretends otherwise. In winter, your butt freezes. In summer, it sweats. In spring, the flies arrive to pay their respects. And in autumn, the trench floods. Again, there's also the bucket option, just a wooden pail stored behind the shelter, occasionally emptied with minimal aim and maximum splash. It's less a bathroom, more a public health hazard. Want to wash your hands after? That's adorable. There's no soap. Just a communal bowl of greyish water that's probably been touched by 8 other people who also skipped the bark test. In the 1,600-second sanitation isn't a system. It's a series of increasingly bad choices. And you've made all of them. You're filthy. You're ashamed. And you still have 17 hours left in this day. You stumble back to camp, empty in both body and soul. And now it's time for breakfast, or what passes for it in the 1,600-second. Don't get your hopes up. There's no omelette bar, no espresso machine hissing comfort into your bloodstream, no pancakes, no yogurt parfait, no, I'll just grab something on the way. There is no on the way. There is only here, and here is hell. You sit near the fire pit, or what's left of it, a few embers, some sad-smelling smoke, and a bent pot blackened by time and sorrow. In it something thick bubbles. You recognize the color but not the ingredients. It's grey, with chunks, and a smell that says last week's turnip emotionally compromised. Welcome to cornmeal mush. Or if you're feeling fancy, ash-thickened maize porridge. It's been soaking overnight because you're too poor to waste anything, even failure. It's served lukewarm in a wooden bowl that still smells faintly of squirrel stew from last month. There's no sugar. Sugar is a fantasy item smuggled across oceans and hoarded like treasure. Butter. Maybe if someone traded a blanket for it. Milk. The goat died last week. The closest thing to flavor is a sliver of salted fish skin someone found in their pocket. They toss it in for protein. You pretend that helps. You take a bite. It tastes like warm regret. The texture is somewhere between muddy riverbed and unchewed paper. You chew. You swallow. Your stomach sighs, not from satisfaction but confusion. You look around. No one's talking. No one is smiling. They're just eating silently, trying not to gag. The fire crackles. A baby cries. A dog licks something unspeakable off a spoon. It's not a meal. It's group punishment. If you're lucky, you get a hunk of bread. And by bread we mean a weaponized loaf of stone-hard mystery grain that doubles as a doorstop. It was baked 5 days ago in a pit oven using flour made from dried acorns, ground bark and desperation. It's so dense it has gravitational pull. You try to break it. It laughs at you. There's no coffee. Let that sink in. No caffeine, no heat, no bitter hug in a cup. You miss it like a lost limb. Water. Only if it's been boiled to kill the parasites. Otherwise you're drinking bacteria with extra crunch. Instead you get warm birch tea, basically flavored water minus the flavor. It's supposed to be medicinal. You sip it and feel nothing but sadness. By now you're still hungry. Your body wants energy. Your brain wants toast. Your soul wants out. But this is what there is. So you eat your paste, gnaw your rock bread, and dream of bagels that don't cause dental trauma. This is breakfast in 1,600-second America. It doesn't fill you, it just delays the next failure. After your glorious breakfast of warm glue and sadness, it's time to get dressed. You might expect a brief reprieve here, a moment of dry socks, a shirt that doesn't fight back. But no, in 1,600-second America, even putting on clothes feels like punishment. First of all, you don't have a wardrobe. You have an outfit. Singular. One set of clothes. One. It is your formal wear, workwear, sleepwear, and burial shroud. It smells like wood smoke, mildew, and wet wool. It smells like you. Because it is you. You slept in it. You work in it. You die in it. And you wash it, well, when the guilt outweighs the risk of freezing to death while it's drying. The shirt is made of homespun linen, rough, itchy, and questionably stitched. The seams rub your armpits like sandpaper. The pants are coarse, wool-heavy, even when dry, which they never are. You tug them on like wet canvas. They resist like they know where they're going. Underwear. That's a privilege. A rumor. If you're lucky, you have a strip of cloth that barely qualifies. It holds nothing, protects less. You might as well go commando and save yourself the chafing. Your socks are mostly holes held together by hope and toe grease. Shoes, if you own them, are leather slabs with laces made from animal sinew. They have no arch support, no heel, no warmth. They are the foot equivalent of punishment. Now, hygiene. Let's not pretend. You stink. Everyone does. No deodorant, no shampoo, no conditioner unless you count rainwater and defeat. Bathing is reserved for holy days or severe infestations. The cold makes washing dangerous. The lack of soap makes it pointless. You might scrub your face with a damp cloth. Might. Your hands are crusted with yesterday's work. Your fingernails are their own ecosystem. Your breath, a weapon. You haven't brushed your teeth because toothbrushes don't exist. You chew a twig. It doesn't help. Your scalp itches. Constantly. Lice. Almost certainly. But that's just part of the ambience. You might delouse yourself by candlelight with a fine-toothed comb, but mostly you live with them. They're your headmates now. And your skin. Dry, cracked, windburned. There's no lotion, no balm, no SPF. The sun eats you by day, the wind peels you by night. You have calluses on top of your calluses. Every joint creaks. Every movement is a protest. Looking in a mirror. Ha! Mirrors are luxury items. You haven't seen your face clearly in months, which is for the best. Because if you did, you'd cry. And in 1,600-second America, there's no tissue either. Let's begin with wood. You need it for fire, cooking light, and staying alive past sunset. That means chopping trees, not with a chainsaw. With an axe so dull it could double as a spoon. You drag it through the forest, find a dead trunk, and swing, and swing, and swing again. Your arms scream, your hands blister, your shoulders feel like they've been replaced with wet rope. One log takes hours. You return with 3. You needed 15. Too bad. Better luck tomorrow. Next, the garden. Calling it a farm would be generous. It's a patch of dirt where you beg seeds to grow. You weed it, water it, and pray. There's no fertilizer unless you count your own waste. There's no irrigation, no pest control, no miracle grow, just worms, rocks, and a persistent sense of despair. Then it's off to tend the animals. If you're lucky, you have a few chickens. If you're really lucky, they haven't all been eaten by foxes. You collect eggs, which may or may not exist today. You check the goat who hates you. You milk it. Badly. It kicks you. The milk spills. You cry a little inside. You fix the fence. Again. Because last night a storm blew half of it down. Nails are scarce. Rope is brittle. Every repair is a gamble. Will it hold until nightfall? Maybe. Probably not. But you patch it anyway, hands trembling because it's that or let the wolves in. Next comes hauling water. The stream is a quarter mile away. You carry buckets made of wood and hope. They're heavy, they leak, and they leave grooves in your palms. You make 6 trips. Your back aches like it's plotting revenge. You spill half of it just walking. You don't complain. Because no one cares. You take a break. For 30 seconds, someone calls you lazy. So you shovel mud. Dig a new latrine trench. Strip bark for tinder. Sharpen that useless axe. Scrape mold off stored food. Chase rats. Fail. Try again. All while gnats dance in your eyes and the sun bakes your neck until it crisps. There's no lunch break. There's barely lunch. Maybe a slice of root vegetable. Maybe not. You eat while moving. Because stopping is weakness, and weakness is death. This is life. You work until your hands bleed. Then you keep going. Because in 1,600-second America rest is something you do once. When you're dead. You've been outside for 6 hours and it feels like 60. Your arms are rubber, your back is on fire, and now because the universe is cruel, it's time for the weather to remind you who's boss. Let's start with summer. The sun is directly overhead, and there's no shade unless you crawl into a bush and hope the raccoon inside isn't territorial. The heat doesn't just warm you, it suffocates. Your shirt clings to you like wet canvas. Your skin glistens with sweat, then dries, then sweats again. You smell like roasted despair. The air is thick, heavy, unmoving. Breezes are fiction. Bugs swarm your face like you're a buffet. Mosquitoes drink you like a cocktail. Horseflies bite hard enough to draw blood. Ticks you've stopped counting. You just assume they're permanent now. Your neck is sunburned. Your thighs are chafing. Your patience is gone. Now switch to winter. Because in 1,600-second America weather doesn't change gradually, it attacks. One moment it's drizzling, the next you're knee-deep in snow, with a wind that slices through wool like a ghost with a grudge. There's no insulation. Your walls are thin planks stuffed with moss. Your roof leaks. Your breath freezes on your lips. Your fingers go numb by mid-morning. By afternoon they're blue. You think, at least I can feel something. Then you can't, and that's worse. Your boots, if you have them, are soaked through. Your socks haven't been dry in weeks. Your toes whisper of mutiny. Every joint aches. Your nose drips. Your ears burn. Your face cracks. You wrap yourself in every layer you own and still shiver like a leaf in a thunderstorm. Rain, don't get me started. Rain is its own genre of punishment. It soaks everything, clothes, wood, food, morale. You try to dry things by the fire, but the fire is sulking because your logs are wet. So you just sit in damp misery staring into the grey abyss, wondering if thunder is a warning or a eulogy. Then comes the storm. Lightning cracks across the sky like divine judgment. Trees fall. Your roof flaps like a broken sail. The wind screams. The mud sucks at your boots. Your body tenses, hoping the shelter holds. It doesn't. Water pours through the cracks. You watch your kindling float away. And there's no break. No safe season. Spring is mud and flooding. Autumn is wind and early frost. There's no climate control, no forecast, no escape. The weather doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about you. And you're starting to agree. By now you've sweated out more than you've eaten. Your throat is dry. Your lips are cracked. You'd kill for a cold drink, something with ice cubes, maybe a lemon slice. But this is 1,600-second America. Ice is seasonal violence, and lemons are an urban legend. Water is life, but it's also a trap. There's no tap, no filtered bottle, no nearby cafe with overpriced spring mist. There's a stream half a mile away winding through a patch of trees that may or may not be haunted. You grab 2 leaky wooden buckets, one in each blistered hand, and limp down the muddy trail like a desperate scarecrow. At the edge of the stream you pause. It looks clear, cold, inviting, but you've made that mistake before. Because this water, it comes with bonuses, bacteria, parasites, maybe a tadpole. If you're lucky, it just gives you a stomachache. If you're not, it gives you cholera, dysentery, or something so old-timey it doesn't even have a proper name, just symptoms that start with explosive and end with dehydrated and dying. Still, you scoop it up. You carry it back, sloshing all the way, spilling half onto your pants where it steams in the sun and makes you smell even more like compost. Now you need to boil it, which means you need fire, which means dry wood, which you don't have. Eventually you get a flame going. The pot balances on stones. You wait. It takes forever. The water bubbles, hisses, and finally maybe becomes drinkable. You let it cool, then drink deeply. It tastes like smoke ash and desperation. Sometimes you don't boil it. Sometimes you're too tired, too rushed, or too hopeful. That's when the fun begins. Cramping, sweating, groaning, running into the woods with that cursed shovel again. There's no plumbing, no system. You store water in wooden barrels that grow algae. You reuse dirty pots. You hope the rain comes soon, but not too soon, or it floods your shelter and washes your water storage away. If the well dries up, game over. If the stream freezes, good luck chipping through ice without shattering your will to live. If someone upstream dies in the water, you'll know in about 6 hours when you start vomiting into the same stream you drank from. You dream of faucets, of bathtubs, of that weird filter straw you once laughed at on a camping trip. Now you'd trade your soul for one. But there's no soul-trading service here, just thirst, and an intestine full of bad decisions. At some point in the mid-afternoon haze, you finally pause, not because you've finished your work, no, that's eternal, but because your body betrays you. Your legs give out, your arms dangle like broken branches. You sit on a stump or maybe a rock. It's hard, cold, and vaguely damp. You don't care. You're not just tired. You've moved past tired, past exhausted. You've entered the realm of medieval fatigue, the kind that seeps into bone and spirit, the kind that rewrites your understanding of what it means to rest. You lean forward, your elbows on your knees, your eyes shut for 2 seconds, then 3. Then you jerk awake because a gnat flew into your ear and started a family. You swat at nothing. Everything hurts. Your stomach grumbles. Again, you ate an hour ago, but your body burned through it like kindling. There's no energy reserve, no fat to spare. You're a walking skeleton with a bad attitude and a worse haircut. Your muscles are ropey. Your hands shake. Your brain floats behind your eyes like a tired ghost trying to remember how sentences work. Sleep. That's a fantasy. You haven't slept properly since you got here. Every night is a gamble between cold lice hunger nightmares and the guy 3 huts over who snores like a dying bear. You close your eyes and drift for minutes, not hours. Then a noise wakes you. Then the cold seeps in. Then a rock presses into your spine. Then dawn. You're emotionally tired too. Beyond the physical ache is the realization that this is forever. There's no day off, no weekend, no vacation. This isn't a rough patch, it's the full path. Every day is survival. Every task is essential. Every slip-up is a threat. And you feel it. In your knees, which grind like millstones. In your shoulders, which haven't stopped aching since sunrise. In your feet, which you no longer recognize as yours. You hear others still working, chopping, hammering, muttering. You know you should join them, but you can't. Not yet. You just need a minute, just one. You sit there staring at nothing, mouth slightly open, breathing through the fatigue fog. A fly lands on your cheek. You let it. It's easier than lifting your hand. You try to think of home, of comfort, of anything else. But the memory of mattresses and microwaves is fading, replaced by splinters, mud, and the ever-present question, can I make it to nightfall? And even if you do, night doesn't save you. It just resets the torment. You're still sitting there catching your breath when a sound changes everything. Not a voice, not a tool, a low growl. Short, sharp, somewhere in the brush behind you. You freeze. Welcome to the other residents of 1602nd America Predators. And they do not fear you. Why would they? You're slow, unarmed, and smell like a soup of sweat and salted failure. In the food chain of this forest, you rank somewhere below a squirrel with a stick. You stand slowly, scan the trees, clutch the nearest item that might count as a weapon. A hatchet. Dull. Probably cursed. Whatever's watching you knows you're bluffing. Maybe it's a cougar. Maybe it's a bear. Maybe it's a wolf, singular if you're lucky. Plural if your luck's run out. You back away. Carefully. Step on a stick. The crack echoes like a gunshot. You wait. Nothing. The growl doesn't return. But now you're certain you're not alone out here. And this isn't your land. It never was. Even the harmless animals aren't harmless. Raccoons steal food, rip through bags, and leave paw prints that feel like threats. Skunks will ruin your clothes and pride with a single hiss. Deer run through camp like they own it, and sometimes they do. They outnumber you anyway. And then there's the small ones. Mice nibble your grain. Rats drag pieces of your life into their dens. Bats flap through your shelter, shedding diseases as they go. Insects and apocalypse in miniature. Gnats in your ears. Mosquitoes that laugh at your skin. Wasps with vendettas. But you need firewood, so you go. Into the woods. Alone. Every step is a horror movie. Branches snap. Leaves rustle. Something big darts across your path. But you don't see it, just the movement. Your heart rate spikes. You try not to breathe too loud. Even birds sound hostile out here. You find some dry wood, begin to gather it. Then you hear scratching. Close. Very close. You don't want to turn around. But you do. Nothing's there. You finish collecting what you can carry, then sprint back branches, slapping your face twigs, clawing your legs. You don't stop until you're back inside camp, panting, sweating heart, doing drum solos. No one looks up. They've all had their turn. There's no fencing, no walls, just a few posts and faith. And faith doesn't stop a bobcat. You huddle closer to the fire. But the fire's small, the woods are large, and everything in them is hungry. It creeps up on you slowly. You think you're just tired. Hungry. Cold, maybe cranky. But that sharp edge inside your mind, that's not just fatigue. That's the beginning of unraveling. You haven't spoken in hours. Not really. Maybe a grunt, a nod, a half-muttered curse when you tripped over a root. No one asks how you're doing because they already know. You're not doing. You're enduring. There's no therapy, no venting, no safe space. No journaling unless you feel like carving your feelings into bark with a flint chip. You keep it inside where it curdles, builds pressure, warps your thinking. You start forgetting words, forgetting what day it is if days even matter anymore. You dream while awake. You hallucinate voices in the wind. Once you thought the moss on your wall looked like a face. You named it Bernard. Bernard judges you silently now. Sleep doesn't help. It's broken, shallow, fragmented. You fall asleep afraid. You wake up more afraid. You've begun measuring rest, not in hours, but in how many new aches appeared overnight. Sometimes you sit and stare at nothing for minutes, maybe hours. You lose time. Forget why you're holding a shovel. Forget what you meant to do, once you caught yourself talking to a chicken. The worst part, it felt normal. You try to pray, but your prayers don't sound like hope. They sound like begging, bargaining, angry muttering into your calloused hands. Just one good hour. Just one warm night. Just a little peace. But peace is expensive, and you're broke. And then there's the silence. Not the relaxing kind, the what was that sound kind. Every quiet moment feels like a trap. You crave noise, something to prove you're not alone. But noise means danger. So you sit trapped between panic and dread, unsure which is worse. Laughter has stopped. Jokes feel blasphemous. You once tried to tell a funny story. No one responded. Someone just coughed and walked away. You haven't tried since. Your body's still working, somehow, but your soul, it's fading. You look in your reflection when water is still enough and barely recognize the person. Hollow eyes, cracked lips, a twitch at the corner of your mouth that won't go away. You miss comfort, yes, but more than that, you miss being yourself. That version of you, the one who made plans, laughed at memes, thought about the future, feels impossibly distant now. Another lifetime. You still go through the motions. Chop wood, eat paste, avoid bears. But inside the lights are dimming, and no one's bringing a candle. You thought you'd feel safer with others, that having neighbours meant having allies. But this isn't suburbia, it's survival. And in 1,600-second America, people aren't your comfort. They're your competition. You live 10 feet away from 3 other families. You hear everything, every cough, every whisper, every prayer that sounds more like a threat. Privacy is a joke. You go to sleep listening to someone argue over the last potato. You wake up hearing someone cry quietly into their shirt. And yet no one talks. Not really. You exchange nods, grunts, the occasional one-syllable weather observation. Trust is rare, and for good reason. You're hungry. They're hungry. Resources are vanishing. Last week someone's chicken disappeared. They suspect a fox. Everyone suspects a neighbour. Now people lock their root cellars, if they even have anything left worth locking up. The gossip spreads like mould. You burn your hand on the stew pot, and by sundown someone whispers that you're possessed. You skipped church once because your leg was bleeding, you're probably a witch. Didn't return that borrowed axe, thief. Heard laughing in your hut at night, must be conspiring. Nothing is innocent. Every action is interpreted with suspicion. You sneeze too loud, you're cursed. Stay too quiet, you're hiding something. And the judgment constant. Your clothes are too dirty, your hair too tangled. You walk funny, you sleep too long, you eat too much, you eat too little. You look tired, and in 1600 tired is practically a sin. You once tried to be friendly. You offered help, smiled at a child, shared a fish. They took it, said nothing, and days later you overheard someone suggest you're trying too hard to be liked. That night your firewood pile was mysteriously smaller. Even friendships are strategic, conditional. Someone will trade you a handful of dried beans, but not for free, not even kindly. Everything comes with a cost. Barter is currency. Affection is rare. Warmth is for fires only. Sometimes the people you fear most live closest. And if someone snaps, if tempers boil over, there are no police, no mediators, just harsh voices, shoving matches, maybe worse. You saw a man banished last month, no trial, no farewells. Just take your things and go. He didn't have many things. He didn't get far. Living with others doesn't mean feeling safe. Sometimes it means sleeping with one eye open. And you're starting to wish you had fewer neighbours, or at least thicker walls. In 1,600-second America, God isn't a comfort. He's a threat. Religion isn't personal. It's everywhere, loud and watching you. There are no casual believers. You go to church or you go on a list. Miss a sermon, you're suspect. Fail to kneel fast enough, that's pride. Smile at the wrong verse, blasphemy. Everything you say can and will be used against you in this life or the next. Every morning the day starts with prayer. Not the quiet kind. The kind you're forced to mutter while trying not to yawn, scratch, or think about how much your knees hurt on the frozen ground. You pray in public aloud in rhythm with others like a factory line of spiritual desperation. There is no break. God is your alarm clock, your boss, your judge, your surveillance system. You ask him for crops, for rain, for protection, but mostly you beg forgiveness for things you haven't even done just in case. Because sin isn't just action, it's thought, and thinking too much dangerous. You worry constantly about how you're perceived. You must look pious but not smug, repentant but not hopeless, humble but not weak. One wrong glance, one wrong word, and suddenly you're different, and different is deadly. Witchcraft is the fear of the hour. Anything outside the strictest norms becomes suspect. A dream, a rash, a pet that won't die fast enough. Signs. Everything's a sign. You try to look harmless but not too harmless. You try to look holy but not self-righteous. You try to not look like you're trying. The minister doesn't smile. He watches. He speaks in warnings and metaphor and passive-aggressive scripture quotes. You once heard him say someone was bearing false fruit. That man left town a week later. Even your personal struggles, sickness, sadness, nightmares, are treated as spiritual failings. Depressed, must be a guilty conscience. Fatigued, clearly lazy, plagued by dreams of your dead dog, demonic influence. There's no confession booth, no therapy, no space to explore doubt. Doubt is heresy. Heresy is danger. People disappear for less. At night, you whisper your prayers, fast, panicked, trying to remember every sin. Did you curse under your breath? Did you covet a neighbor's firewood? Did you think something impure while chewing bark paste? Better safe than sorry. You add 20 extra amens just in case. The worst part, you start to believe it. You judge yourself. You flinch at your own thoughts. You hear footsteps outside and wonder if today's the day someone knocks and says, "We've had a vision about you." And visions always mean exile. Or worse, it starts with a cough. You tell yourself it's nothing, dust in the throat, smoke from the fire, maybe you slept weird, you try to ignore it, but the others hear, and once they do, it's already too late. Sickness doesn't knock here, it breaks the door down. There are no hospitals, no doctors, no pills with reassuring labels. There are remedies, which is a generous term for crushed herbs, poultices that smell like defeat, and something called bleeding, where they drain your life to let out the bad vibes. Your fever climbs. Someone offers you a tea made of boiled bark. It tastes like sadness and does less. Another neighbor suggests tying onions to your feet. You laugh. They don't. Symptoms multiply. Cough becomes hacking. Your skin flushes, then pales. Your joints scream. Your stomach flips. You spend more time squatting in the woods than sleeping. And the worst part, you don't know what it is. Could be the flu, could be dysentery, could be the bloody flux, which sounds like a heavy metal band but is actually fatal diarrhea. It could be plague. It could be ghosts. The healer arrives. She's 90 blind in one eye and smells like fermented pine. She rubs lard on your chest and chants something about balance. You nod. You try not to vomit on her. She leaves a pouch of herbs on your chest and whispers, "Don't let it see the moon." You don't ask what it is. As you lie in your bed, if a straw mat counts, you listen. The same coughs echoing in other shelters. Other people failing quietly. Someone's child hasn't been outside in days. Someone's husband is talking to the walls. No one wants to say it, but everyone's thinking it. If it's contagious, you're all doomed. Quarantine doesn't exist. Neither do masks, tests, or isolation wards. You might be told to sleep in the woods alone until you stop coughing. But that's not for your protection. It's to stop your ghost from haunting the good blankets. You start bargaining. With God. With your reflection. With the mouse that visits at night. If I survive, I'll never complain about cornmeal again. The mouse leaves. You cough up something solid. And then someone dies. Not with ceremony, just quietly. They go to sleep and don't wake up. Their body is buried shallowly. There's no time for grief, no space for mourning. Because now you have a fever. And no one wants to sit next to you. You try to be brave. But your mind swims. You hallucinate warmth. You forget where you are. You forget who you are. All you remember is the cough. You lie on your straw mat, still coughing, still sweating, eyes open to the rafters where a spider spins a web between two beams of rotting wood. You don't move. Moving hurts. Thinking hurts. But you think anyway. Your mind desperate for escape drifts. You imagine a shower. Not a bucket bath. A real modern soul-purifying shower. Hot water, pressure, scented soap. You can almost feel its steam-rising shampoo lathering the sweet chemical smell of manufactured luxury. You think of mattresses, thick forgiving, wrapped in clean sheets, sheets white warm, unbitten by fleas. You picture the bliss of soft pillows that aren't filled with straw and regret. You imagine coffee, real coffee, A mug warm in your hands, steam rising, that first perfect sip. Not the bitter birch water you choked down this morning, but rich, dark caffeine salvation, maybe with milk or hazelnut creamer. Your eyes water at the thought. You dream of lights that switch on, a heater that listens, of socks that match, of food that comes in a package wrapped in plastic you don't even have to boil. You remember Google, GPS, text messages, music that doesn't involve someone wheezing into a flute carved from deer bone. You remember the idea of escape. And then, reality returns. Because there's no door to leave through, no bus stop, no airline, no convenient glitch in the simulation. You are here. You are stuck. You are one muddy, starving, lice-bitten soul in a world that doesn't care if you remember what a croissant is. The weight of it settles on you like damp wool, thick, suffocating, permanent. You try to fantasize your way out again, but the fire crackles nearby. Someone yells in the distance. A child sobs. A hammer clangs. Your cough returns. The spell breaks. You want to scream. You want to run. But where would you go? There's nothing beyond the tree line but more trees, more cold, more wolves. The next settlement is 3 days away if you don't die on the way. Your escape is in your mind, and even that's breaking down. You forget what day it is, what month. You forget the names of the people around you. You forget your own. You try to write, to document, but your hands shake. Ink is rare, paper is gold. Instead, you scratch your initials into a plank, as if that'll help. You stare at it for hours. You imagine a rescue, a bright white light, a hand reaching in from the future. But no one's coming. No one can. The sun is gone. Not just behind clouds, not dipping politely beneath the hills. It vanishes, and with it your last thread of comfort. Darkness falls fast here. It doesn't ease in like a curtain. It drops hard, sudden, and absolute. And you are not ready. Your fire sputters, wood's low. You thought you had enough, but cold math says otherwise. You huddle closer knees to chest, trying to shield the last few flames from the wind. Sparks rise like tiny ghosts and vanish into the void above. There's no ambient glow, no porch light, no moon tonight, just black dents and swallowing. You stretch your hand in front of your face and see nothing, not shadows, not outlines, nothing. You blink, but it's the same with eyes open or closed. You hear everything, creaks in the trees, a snap in the distance, footsteps, or branches shifting in cold soil. You don't know. You don't want to know. You imagine things moving just beyond reach. Not monsters, this isn't a fairy tale, just animals. Desperate ones, curious ones, human ones maybe. You grip your hatchet, not because it will help, but because it's all you have. Inside your shelter, if you can call it that, it's not much better. Wind sneaks through the gaps in the wood. Your breath fogs the air. You curl into the blanket you share with mold and memory. Your body shakes. Not violently, just enough to keep you awake. Sleep is no relief. You can't relax, can't exhale. You listen, always listening. Every sound feels sharp. Every silence feels loaded. There's no dreaming, only waiting. And the cold, it's not just a feeling, it's a force. It seeps into joints, into teeth, into the base of your spine. You press your hands under your arms, tuck your chin to your chest. It doesn't help. You've already lost heat you can't regain. You remember what night used to mean: soft lighting, locked doors, a glowing screen, quiet laughter from another room. Now night is a threat, a trial, a long, slow robbery of your sanity. You try to count the hours, but there are too many. Time dilates. Minutes feel like hours, hours like days. You stare into the blackness, and the blackness stares back. There's no morning here. Not yet, only more dark. You whisper to yourself, a name, a song, anything to hold on to. Your voice sounds small, smaller than you've ever heard it. And still the dark presses in. At some point in the night, your eyes close. Not because you feel safe, not because you're warm, but because your body simply gives up. It's not rest, it's surrender. You don't remember drifting off, only the moment when the world tilts sideways and time bends inward. You dream, but not the way you used to. No beach, no flying, no lost teeth or endless hallways. These dreams come from a deeper place, a place older than memory and louder than language. In the first, you're standing in the woods, not beside the woods. In them, trees taller than cathedrals, bark like cracked leather, no path, just shadow. You turn around, again and again, but the trees never shift. No landmarks, no light. The forest is static yet alive, breathing around you, watching you. You hear whispers in a language that doesn't exist anymore, words shaped like leaves falling sideways. You can't understand them, but you know they're not meant for you. You try to move. Your feet sink into the earth. Not mud, not water, just soft ground that absorbs you inch by inch. You cry out, but the sound comes out wrong, like wood splitting, like your voice has been borrowed and twisted. Next dream. You're in your shelter, but it's floating, above the trees. No roof. Just open sky pulsing red and black. Stars blink like eyes. Too close, too bright, too interested. Bernard is there, the moss face. But now he talks. No mouth, just vibration in your spine. He says your name, then asks why you came here, then tells you you're not allowed to leave. You wake, or you think you do. The fire is out. Your breath is fog again, but your limbs don't move. Your eyes won't open. Sleep paralysis. You feel someone in the room. Not an animal, not a person, something tall, still, inches from your face. You try to scream, no sound. You try to breathe, no air. You lie there, mind, racing heart pounding, trapped in a moment stretched thin as twine. Eventually it passes. Or it doesn't. You're not sure anymore. You slip back under. This time you're back in the future. Your time. Fluorescent lights, soft beds, a microwave hum. But it's wrong. Everyone ignores you. You shout. No one turns. You grab your phone, it melts. Your face in the mirror warps. You scratch at your clothes, but they won't come off. They're stitched to your skin. You hear wolves. Inside the building. You run. Down a hallway. Into the forest again. Full circle. You jolt awake, gasping, covered in cold sweat. Your shelter still holds, barely. The coals glow faint orange. A single crow calls outside. You're not sure what time it is, but you know the dream is still with you. You wake because the cold stabs you. Not gently, not with grace. It finds the gap in your blanket, the inch of exposed skin, and cuts deep. Your spine curls, your teeth clench, and your first breath of the day feels like broken glass. You're not rested. You're not ready. You're not even sure you slept. But the world doesn't care. The world has chores. You open your eyes to darkness, just beginning to soften. Not light, just less black. A faint grey creeping across the sky like the day itself is ashamed to return. Your body protests. Every joint creaks. Every muscle winces. You sit up and feel the full inventory of pain. Stiff neck, swollen fingers, blistered heels, and something mysterious happening in your lower back that feels like a personal betrayal. Your breath mists. Your nose drips. Your hands shake as you grope for your boots. They're stiff, icy. You slide your foot in and feel the leftover wet from yesterday's snow. It sucks the heat from your toes like a hungry leech. You stand. Slowly. Your knees disagree. Your back adds commentary. You push through it. There's no alternative. No second option. No pause button. No snooze. Outside, the settlement stirs. Smoke curls up from weak fires. Shapes shuffle in the half-light, wrapped in rags and fatigue. No one greets each other. No one smiles. Eyes meet and quickly look away. You're not alone, but you're not together either. You walk toward wood, toward water, toward whatever task has claimed your soul this morning. You move not with purpose, but with inevitability, like a wheel forced to turn again and again, even as the spokes crack. There is no time for reflection, no moment for grief. You want to scream, to sit, to vanish, but instead you lift, you carry, you scrape, you begin. The fire needs stoking, the roof needs patching, something somewhere is leaking, something somewhere is dying, and you are expected to keep going. You chew a piece of dried root. It tastes like bitterness and keeps your teeth busy. You drink smoke-warm water that tastes like last night's wood ash. You ignore the pain in your gut, the tightness in your chest, the itch behind your ear that might be lice or might be imagination. You remind yourself that survival isn't a choice, it's a sentence. And the worst part? You know this is the easy part. Because night will come again. Welcome to the infinite loop of existence. Day number. Well, who's counting? You rise, you ash, you work. Then you do it again, and again, and again. There's no weekend, no Sunday brunch, no after work, because after work is before more work. The idea of rest is a myth, a whisper, a cruel bedtime story told to fools with extra calories. Your routine is carved in stone and smeared in mud. Wake up, cough, stagger outside, poke a sad fire, fail to feel warmth, fetch wood, fetch water, fail to feel purpose. Eat a hard lump of something once called bread, gnaw it into submission. Pray you don't crack a tooth. Your gums are already receding like frightened villagers. Then dig, chop, scrape, lift, boil, scrub. Then repeat. There's no innovation, no app to optimize your routine. You don't batch tasks, you don't delegate. You just grind your bones against the day until one of them gives out, and spoiler alert, it's not the day. Lunch is not a break. It's a handful of cold cornmeal mush and a few quiet tears that evaporate before they reach your cheeks. Then back to it. Patching roofs, hauling stones, fixing fences that will break again tomorrow. You begin to resent the fence. The fence becomes your enemy. You dream of setting it on fire. Then remember, firewood is scarce. Everything is slow, tedious, unchanging. You see the same trees, smell the same smoke, hear the same complaints. You know exactly how every single minute of today will unfold, because it's the same as yesterday, and tomorrow, and the next 6 months if you survive that long. You catch yourself humming a song, then realize it's not a song. It's just the rhythm of your shovel hitting frozen earth. A beat, a mantra, a dirge. Someone asks if you've seen their bucket. You nod. You haven't. You don't care. Buckets come and go, like hope. At dusk, you eat again. Another version of despair stew. You swear it tastes like sadness and bark. You chew without tasting. You speak without meaning. You sleep without dreaming. Then you wake. And do it all again. Somewhere in your mind there's a faint memory of novelty, of surprise, of the joy of new things. But here new is dangerous, different is risky, safe is the sameness that slowly erodes your will. You're not alive, you're animated, not living, just lasting. And even that's not guaranteed. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no announcement, no storm, no plague of locusts, just little signs, quiet shifts, hints. The first is in the garden. A patch of beans fails to sprout. You tell yourself it's nothing, a bad row, poor soil, too much shade, but deep down something sinks. Then the corn, stunted, pale, leaves like paper, ears that stay small, hard, useless. You watch it grow wrong. You don't say it aloud. You just look. and worry. The others notice too, but no one speaks of it yet. They just start portioning their meals more carefully, watering more frequently, praying more urgently. The air changes. It feels thinner, drier, like the wind itself is tired. It stops carrying the scent of wet soil or crushed herbs. Now it smells like dust, like failure. Then come the animals. First the rabbits scarcer, faster, skinnier. Then birds stop showing up in the traps. Squirrels vanish. Even the flies thin out as if they know what's coming. At night the camp is quieter, not from peace but from dread. Conversations shrink. Fires burn smaller. People chew slower, not to savor but to stretch. You hear your stomach more than your thoughts now. You begin rationing, not formally, not aloud, just instinctively. Less stew, smaller bites, more chewing. You dig deeper into stores you swore you wouldn't touch till winter. You hope for rain. But when it comes, it's wrong. A sudden burst that floods the low fields. Then nothing again. The sky is a liar, bright blue, no clouds mocking your prayers. Your clothes hang looser. Your belt pulls tighter. You count ribs in your reflection. You stop discarding bad roots. You boil them, mash them, pretend they're fine. And still you work, because the land demands it. But your tools feel heavier, your limbs slower. You dig with less force, chop with less rhythm. Every footstep kicks up dust where green should be. Then someone collapses, just drops mid-task. They don't speak for an hour. When they do, it's nonsense. You give them water, bread, but your eyes say what your mouth won't. That could be me next. And it could. The silos are shrinking, the baskets are lighter, the shelves echo. You dream of fruit, of meat, of fat that drips and sizzles. You wake chewing air. No one laughs anymore. Even the wind has stopped whistling through the trees. You begin to understand that hunger is not just pain, it's silence. A silence that grows louder each day. It starts with missing scraps. Not whole meals, just pieces. A chunk of dried meat gone from the hook. A spoonful of grain vanished from the sack. A leftover crust no one remembers eating. You ask around gently at first. No one saw anything. But you did. You saw the eyes, the glances, the way people hover near supplies they never touch. How hands twitch when someone else eats. Theft is still a sin, but sin is theoretical. Hunger is real. You double-check your stores, start counting things twice. You move your stash, then move it again. You wake at night to check on it. It becomes your first and last thought of the day. You see others doing the same. Then come the accusations. Soft, passive, veiled as questions. Didn't we have more beans yesterday? Strange how fast that root cellar empties. No names, not yet, just seeds of suspicion. But seeds grow. You hear whispers now, behind shelters, around corners. They're not about weather or wolves anymore. They're about people. Who's eating too well? Who's too thin? Who's too quiet? Who might be hiding something? And someone is. One morning someone finds a stash beneath a floorboard, a private cache, dried berries, nuts, bread so old it's nearly fossil. The reaction isn't anger, it's something darker. Envy, desperation, hatred. They drag the hoarder out, words fly, so do hands. You don't know who throws the first punch, you only see the dust cloud. When it settles, the food is gone, split among everyone. And the hoarder, gone too. No one says where. No one asks. The rules shift overnight. Locks appear. Doors close early. Watchful eyes never blink. If you drop a crust, you pick it up. If you find one, you keep it. Morality has a calorie cost, and you're out of calories. You begin hiding your own food. A few salted fish buried in ash. Some stale oats tucked in your boot. You lie about what you have. You learn to chew quietly. You learn to lie. Friendship fades, laughter vanishes, every gesture is calculated, every act a trade. You stop trusting children. They're not innocent, they're informants, sharp-eyed and curious. They know who has what, they hear everything. And when they whisper to the wrong person, people vanish. You miss the wolves, at least they were honest. Now the true predators wear your face. You used to prey with words. Now it's noise. Muttered syllables, half-remembered verses, fragments of scripture mixed with fear and superstition. You whisper them while stirring soup, while tying rope, while burying waste. You're not sure who hears, or if anyone does. Faith was once a comfort, a ritual, a foundation. Now it's a plea, a bribe, a last resort. You bargain. If I survive the week, I'll give half my food. If the cough stops, I'll never complain again. If it rains, I'll confess everything. If I'm spared, please just spare me. But nothing answers. You start seeing signs in everything. A dead crow outside your door, bad omen. A log splits in two with a single blow. A blessing, a dream of fire, a warning. You become fluent in the language of desperation. You carve symbols into wood, wrap charms in twine, avoid walking counterclockwise around trees. Someone says salt protects you. You sprinkle it in a circle. It doesn't work, but you do it again. You stop attending group prayers, not out of rebellion, but because you can't bear the silence anymore. The way voices echo off the walls, the way no one looks up, the way the minister keeps speaking of judgment and wrath but never grace. You light your own candle, alone, stare at the flame like it's a mouth that might finally speak. But it never does. Doubt creeps in, quiet at first, like a fog under the door. You try to push it back, remember parables, repeat verses. But they sound thinner now, like they were meant for someone else. You try to remember when faith stopped feeling like hope and started feeling like superstition. Maybe it was when the last baby died. Maybe when the crops failed. Maybe when your neighbor hung himself in the woods and no one mentioned it again. You still whisper to the sky. But the words don't feel like prayers. They feel like confessions shouted into a canyon just to hear the echo. You look for meaning in patterns, clouds, scratches on bark, the flight of birds. None of it helps, but it distracts you, keeps you from counting how many people are left. You still bow your head, still close your eyes, still press your fingers together. But inside a part of you has gone quiet. The part that once believed in rescue. It's not sudden. Your decline happens in whispers, in slow fades, in moments you don't notice until it's far too late. Your weight goes first. Clothes that once clung now hang. Pants gather at the waist like deflated lungs. Your belt loops an extra notch, then another. Then you stop using it altogether. There's nothing left to hold. Your skin follows, dry, thin, split in places that used to stretch. Your hands crack with cold, your lips peel, your nails chip, your feet blister, then harden, then split. You stop feeling your toes. That should worry you. It doesn't. Injuries don't heal. Cuts that once scabbed over now fester. A splinter you didn't bother removing becomes a boil. You poke it with a knife. It weeps. So do you. Your teeth ache, constantly. One's loose. You wiggle it with your tongue. It doesn't resist. Another cracked last week. A stone in your stew. You swallowed the fragment. You haven't passed it. You chew slowly now. Or not at all. Mush is easier. Bark easier still. You used to spit out the husks. Now you swallow them. Waste is a luxury. You limp. Always. The result of a rolled ankle from weeks ago. Still swollen. Still tender. You ignore it. Favor the other leg. Now that one hurts too. You stopped bathing. Water is too cold, too scarce, and there's no one left to impress. You smell like rot and wood smoke. You pretend not to notice when others stand farther away. Your hair thins, comes out in clumps. You find strands stuck to your blanket, to your hands, to your food. You wipe them away without flinching. Vanity left months ago. Your breath is sour. Your stomach growls less these days. Not because you're full, because it's learned there's no point. Your back hunches, your shoulders slope. You used to walk tall. Now you drift, like a ghost that hasn't realized it died. Your voice is quiet. When you speak, it cracks. You forget what you sound like. Forget how to sound like anything but tired. You used to sing, now you cough. You used to smile, now your lips bleed when they stretch. You used to dream, now you forget to close your eyes. The mirror, when you catch your reflection in still water, doesn't lie, but it doesn't help either. You look at yourself and see the world eating you back. You don't cry anymore. Not because you're brave, not because you've accepted anything, but because the mechanism's broken. Whatever system once told your brain this is too much, it's silent now, or gone. There is pain, there is fear, but the response blunted, as if someone rewired your soul with dull copper. Someone dies. You don't flinch. You nod. You note the space they leave behind another bed, to scavenge another portion freed. You don't feel guilt. Not really. You just feel still. You used to react, laugh, argue, gasp. Now when something happens, you watch it the way you'd watch rain, hit a roof with disinterest, with detachment. You forget words, familiar ones, simple ones. They slip mid-sentence. You pause, reach for them, come back empty. You say thing more, point more, grunt more. Your thoughts are slower, not foggy, just distant, like they're happening across a river. You can see them, but they don't feel like yours. Names begin to fade. First the neighbors. The man who always had a joke. The woman who sang in the morning. Their names used to anchor you. Now they're just the man and the woman. You're not sure when they lost their labels. Then your own memories blur. You try to recall your favorite food, the scent of summer, your childhood bedroom, a face you used to love. They're outlines now, sketches without ink. You know you had those memories, but now they're behind glass you can't break. You forget why you're here, why any of this started. You remember that you came from somewhere, but the where, the when, the who, all of it dissolves. You try to say your full name one night. You get halfway through. Then stop. Not from confusion, but from indifference. You write things down to help. Notes, names, dates, but the ink fades, or the pages get wet, or you lose them, and the urge to rewrite them fades too. You feel time slipping. Days bleed into one another. You count sunrises, then stop. You used to mark your shelter wall. Now it's just scratched wood. You used to worry you were losing yourself. Now you wonder what that self was even for. You don't speak of home anymore, of modern life, because home doesn't feel real. It's a story someone told once, a dream someone else had. The forest knows you now. And you're starting to forget you ever knew anything else. You sit. That's it. No task, no demand, just sitting, on a rock warmed slightly by sun, staring into the forest, hands on knees, shoulders slack, breathing shallow. The forest moves. Not for you, not because of you, it just moves. Wind threads through the pine like a hand through hair, leaves shiver in silence. Branches sway with ancient rhythm. Nothing hurries, nothing explains. A bird hops near your boot. It stares, tilts its head, hops again, then vanishes into the brush with no concern. You don't matter to it. Your stillness is not safety. It just has no reason to fear you anymore. Squirrels chase each other up trees. Not for sport, not for joy, just instinct. Hunger, motion. Their paws scratch bark, sending flakes to the ground. You count them falling. The sun filters down through uneven canopy. You never noticed before how it moves like water catching on bark, pooling in moss, sliding across your skin without asking. It doesn't warm you, but it touches you. Somewhere in the distance an owl calls. Middle of the day, unusual, but nothing about this world is built to match your expectations. You used to be loud in it, shouting, digging, planning, resisting. Now you watch. And the world. It doesn't watch back. It doesn't care. The trees will stand whether you do or don't. The grass will grow through your floorboards if you vanish tomorrow. The animals will pick through your belongings. Use your threadbare blanket for a nest. The river flows in the same direction at the same speed every day. You've bathed in it, drank from it, bled into it, and still it flows on, never once pausing to acknowledge you were here. That used to bother you. Now it almost comforts you. Because it means the pain doesn't matter either. The hunger, the fear, the silence. If the world doesn't care about your presence, it doesn't care about your suffering. And if it doesn't care about your suffering, maybe you don't have to either. You feel something shift in your chest. Not peace, not hope, something smaller, like resignation or alignment. The forest creaks. A hawk circles overhead its cry, sharp as a knife in clean air. And for the first time you think, maybe this place isn't cruel. Maybe it's just honest. You haven't heard a voice in 12 days. Not a greeting, not a whisper, not even a curse. Just wind, just birds, just the creak of your own joints. The human voice is a fading sound, like a dream you can almost remember, but not quite. You still have words, technically, in your head, but they're slipping, like dried leaves in a current. You try to talk to yourself, out loud, just to hear something, but the sentences come wrong, too slow, too scrambled. You start repeating simple things: stick, fire, cold, again. One morning you try to say your own name. You start, hesitate, restart. It feels like reciting someone else's identity, like quoting an actor. You trail off halfway through. You laugh once. It comes out strange. More breath than sound, it surprises you. You stop, listen. Nothing answers, not even an echo. The birds chirp in patterns. You find yourself trying to copy them. Not for fun, for contact. You click your tongue. You warble. You whistle. You get no reply. You begin to talk to objects. The pot, the shovel, the corner of the wall where a beetle lives. You give them voices, conversations, sometimes arguments. You always win. One night you hear something. A voice. Real. Human. You sit up so fast you bruise your ribs. You crawl outside, eyes wide, ears straining. But there's nothing. No one. You hear it again the next day, and the day after. It says your name. It isn't real. You start narrating your actions. Now I gather wood. Now I sit down. Now I scratch. You forget how long you've been doing this. You forget how it started. You dream in gibberish. The people in your sleep speak in tones, not words. Their mouths move wrong. You wake with nonsense phrases on your lips. Crimmer fell. Gornster. Let the black wheat rise. You write them down. You lose grammar. Then structure. Then interest. You draw more now. Symbols. Marks. Shapes that don't mean anything. Or maybe they do. You forget the difference between communication and decoration. You remember once that you used to have conversations. Real ones. With jokes, and pauses, and warmth. You remember making people laugh, or cry, or think. Now if someone did speak to you, you're not sure you'd answer. Not in words, at least. Not in any way they'd understand. It starts with a breeze. Not a gust, not a storm, just a shift in the way air moves through the trees. Colder, thinner. like the wind's begun sharpening itself again. The leaves don't fall yet, but they stop glowing. Their green dims, fades, begins to curl at the edges like old paper. You feel it before you see it, the slow return. Winter. You try to ignore it. Pretend the wind's always been this sharp, that the sun always sets this early. But denial is a summer luxury, and your breath says otherwise. You see frost on your bucket one morning, just a shimmer, a film, but it stays longer than it should, and the next day it's thicker. Your hands hurt again, the way they did last year, knuckles tight, skin cracking. You reach for your gloves. They're still damp from last winter, still stiff, still inadequate. You find yourself checking the woodpile without thinking, just walking over, counting logs, calculating silently. It's not enough. It never is. Food scarce already sours faster. You bury root vegetables deeper, hope the earth stays warm enough to protect them. You patch your shelter again, stuff the cracks with moss, bark, old rags. You know it won't matter. You start dreaming of fire, not warmth. Fire, the way it sounds, the way it eats. You catch yourself staring at the trees with hunger, not for the fruit they don't bear, but for the fuel they could become. Your joints ache in a familiar rhythm, knees when you squat, shoulders when you reach. You remember last winter's limp. It never fully healed. You feel it returning like a song stuck in your bones. You look around and see others doing the same things, collecting, hoarding, preparing, but their movements are slower, their faces thinner, their eyes older. Some don't bother anymore. You see them sit by the fire too long, watch the sky too long, their minds already halfway out. You hear talk of early snow, of signs in the trees. The birds are migrating faster, the squirrels frantic. Even the animals know. Even the silence sounds colder. You dig out your winter coat, the one with a tear under the arm. You forgot to mend it. You put it on anyway. The hole feels like a warning. You try to stay calm. But winter doesn't care. It comes whether you're ready or not. And this time you're not. It starts in silence. Not the regular quiet of dawn. A different silence. Heavier, denser. As if the air has muffled itself out of respect for what's coming. Then the first flake. Small, slow, weightless. It lands on your sleeve, melts instantly. You blink. Another joins it. Then another. You look up. The sky's white. Not cloudy. Not grey. White. A sheet pulled tight across the sky. Then the snow falls. Gently at first, like a lullaby, a drifting hush that softens the world. You stand still. Watch it land on roofs, on trees, on your hands. It's beautiful. That's the trick. Snow lies. It wraps death in purity, dresses hunger in lace, coats despair in symmetry. It turns broken shacks into ornaments, rotten wood into sculptures, the whole world into a false photograph. You step outside. The air is different, cold without wind, still, waiting. You listen. No footsteps, no axes, no voices, just flakes touching earth like secrets. By noon everything's covered. Tracks vanish, roads blur, shapes round out. The sharp corners of the world dissolve. Even the cemetery looks peaceful. By afternoon it thickens, falls harder, faster. You can't see where sky ends and ground begins. You hold your breath. Snow fills it. You go to gather wood and return with boots, soaked sleeves, stiff fingers numb. You drop the logs. Don't pick them up. Just watch them sink into white like stones in shallow water. Inside you try to dry your clothes. There's not enough heat, not enough time. The fire struggles. You feed it, but it sulks. Outside snow keeps coming. It covers the paths, the signs, the escape routes. It piles at your door, at your windows. You clear it, then clear it again, then give up. The world is shrinking, dimming, not from darkness, from white. And the beauty is gone now. Now it's just wait. You step outside again near dusk. The flakes sting now. The wind's returned, blowing snow sideways in spirals, in sheets. It finds your neck, your eyes, your soul. Your breath fogs, then freezes. You look back at your shelter. It's half swallowed, just a lump in the landscape. And you realize so are you. You walk slower, feet drag. Snow clings to your legs, your back, your lashes. You are becoming a statue in real time. The quiet is deeper now. Not peaceful. Final. There's no ceremony. No candle, no prayer, no acknowledgement. Just the last of it. One slice of turnip. Boiled soft. No salt, no fat. Just wet bitterness. You split it. Not out of kindness, but necessity. 2 mouths, half each. You chew slow, not because you want to savor, but because you don't want to swallow. Because once you do, it's gone. And then it is. You lick the bowl, scrape it with your finger, your nail, your tongue. Every molecule matters. You look around afterward, as if food might appear, hidden in a crack, behind a beam, beneath a floorboard. But there's nothing. You know that. You've already checked. 5 times. Your stomach knows too. It growls, then stops. Not because it's satisfied, but because it's given up. Hunger becomes something different now. It's not noise. It's not a pang. It's a fog. You begin to think slower, move less, speak barely at all. Every action gets weighed against the energy it costs. Most aren't worth it. You think about eating things you swore you wouldn't. Bark, leather, paper. You boil your shoes, chew the softened hide, swallow the fibers. Your gut protests, then accepts. You remember the rats, gone now. You wish they'd come back. You dream of food constantly, not feasts, just bread, an apple, cheese, something that doesn't crunch like twigs or feel like regret. You think of the time you threw food away. Not here, not now, but before. Years ago, a half-eaten sandwich, cold fries. You remember the moment like it's carved in bone. You start watching people differently, not with suspicion, with calculation. Who looks stronger, who looks slower, who has something you don't. You hate these thoughts. They don't stop. Your body begins to consume itself. Muscle first, then fat, then more muscle. Your joints show, your ribs speak, your clothes hang like curtains on a dying frame. You lose the ability to stay warm. You stop going outside. You sleep more hoping time will pass faster. It doesn't. Sleep doesn't refresh you anymore. It only interrupts the gnawing. And when you wake, you feel it. The shift. You are not a person with hunger anymore. You are hunger. And everything else is background noise. It starts with the hands. Shaking. Not from cold. Not from fear. From depletion. You hold a cup empty and it rattles like glass in a storm. You grip tighter. It drops anyway. You don't pick it up. Later your legs betray you. One gives out. No warning. Just buckles. You hit the ground hard, too slow to catch yourself. You lie there for a minute. 2. You don't get up. Not right away. You study the floor like it has answers. When you finally rise, it's not a movement. It's an event. You cling to walls, to chairs, anything that helps you stand without spending too much energy. You move like something wounded, like something on its last loop around the cage. The tremors get worse. They begin in your fingers, spread to your arms, then your jaw. You can't hold anything still. Your body buzzes with an invisible current. It doesn't stop, even when you sleep. Your vision blurs next. Edges lose clarity. Light becomes too bright. Shadows too dark. You see colors that aren't real. A red that pulses. A blue that hovers. You blink and blink and blink, and nothing clears. You speak aloud to test your voice. It slurs. You try again. You stutter. Again. Just breath. No word. Like your tongue is drunk on starvation. You crawl more now. Not for drama, for function. Standing costs too much, so you drag, slide, slump, from one end of the room to the other, to piss, to fetch, to check. You lose time. Blackouts, not sleep, gaps. One moment you're staring at the fire pit. Next you're on the floor, blood on your lip. The fire's out. How long was it out? You try to relight it. Drop the flint 3 times. Cut your thumb. Don't notice. Your breath is shallow, fast. You feel it in your ears. Your pulse too. It's loud, then quiet, then loud again. It skips. You count the skips. One night you wake on your side. Your arm beneath you. You can't move it. Not from numbness, from failure. It hangs like wet cloth, dead weight. You cry, not because it hurts, but because you know this is how it begins. You look at your feet. They're purple, swollen, skin cracking. You haven't felt your toes in days. You try to stand. You don't. The floor becomes your kingdom. A cold, hard, unforgiving world of splinters and dust. You stop crawling eventually. Even that costs too much. You just lie there, eyes open, listening to your body shut itself off. You're not sure if your eyes are open. The room looks familiar, then it doesn't. The light shifts without warning. The walls breathe, the shadows reach. Time puddles and ripples. You hear someone say your name. Clear, kind, a voice you haven't heard in years or ever. You turn toward it. No one there. Just a broken chair and the ash of yesterday's fire. You smile. Say hello, then forget why. The floor turns to snow. You blink. It's wood again. Blink once more tiles. You stop blinking. The world swims. A bird flutters by your window. Indoors. Through the air. Through you. Your fingers are gone. No, they're there, but longer, thinner, curling in directions fingers don't go. You wave. They don't move. You think about moving them. That's enough. You smell apples. Baked. Sweet. Cinnamon. You close your eyes and chew. It's real. Soft. Warm. But your mouth is dry and empty. You reach for the apple pie that isn't there. Voices return. Some whisper, some shout, some laugh. You try to join them. Your lips make shapes but no sound. They reply anyway. You're doing fine, they say. Almost there. You believe them. You see your mother, or someone who could be. She's by the fire stirring soup. She hums. You know the tune. You don't. She turns to speak and her face flickers. Blank 1 second. Bones the next, then light. The air shimmers like water. You reach out and your hand sinks through the wall, ripples, then stillness. You forget where you are, then you remember, then forget again. The place you're in shifts. Cabin, forest, school hallway, the subway. You see a deer, in the corner, watching. Antlers made of smoke. It bows its head. You bow back. You don't know why. You hear music, a low cello, then a child's lullaby, then silence so thick it echoes. You float, not metaphorically. You feel yourself rise. inches off the floor, breathless, weightless, then crash back down. Or did you? Something speaks through your teeth. It isn't you. It says a word you don't know in a language that doesn't exist. But you nod. You understand anyway. The fire lights itself. The door opens. The ceiling falls upward. You smile. And somewhere far away you feel your body twitch. Just once. Like a bell tolling for itself. You've stopped counting days. They don't pass anymore, they just blend. A smear of grey light and longer nights. The cold has moved inside your bones. It no longer bites. It settles, makes a home. You haven't stood in days. Not because you can't, but because there's nothing to stand for. You stopped rationing, stopped calculating. There's no more after, no more next. Just now. And even now feels borrowed. You lie on the floor. Blanket around your legs, one boot on, one lost somewhere. Doesn't matter, you don't feel your feet. Haven't for days. Your hands rest on your chest, one atop the other. Like you've seen in paintings. Like you're trying to look proper for something. But no one is coming. You know that now. The silence isn't scary anymore. It's soft, like a hand on your forehead, like a lullaby you don't remember but trust anyway. You breathe, but only because you haven't stopped yet. Each inhale is shallower, each exhale a little longer. There's no panic, no flash of regret, no cinematic rush of memories. Just calm. You remember small things, the way sunlight hit your coffee once, the smell of garlic on your fingers, a dog's snore, someone's laugh brief, beautiful. They visit you like fireflies, flicker, fade. You smile. Not big, just enough to feel the stretch. It cracks your lips. You don't wipe the blood. You feel tired, not sleepy, not exhausted, tired. Like a door ready to shut, a candle about to gutter, not broken, just done. Your body agrees. Muscles stop asking, joints stop complaining. The ache evaporates into something cleaner, quieter. You think about trying to sit up, then you don't. You think about calling out, but there's no one left to hear. You close your eyes. The dark behind them is warm. You open them one last time. The ceiling looks the same as always, but somehow it feels farther away. Or maybe you're sinking, or floating, or both. You feel the world lean. Not in pain, not in fear. In surrender. You whisper something, a word, a name. You don't hear it. Doesn't matter. It was for you. Your last breath is not dramatic, not loud, not even full. It just stops. Like a story that ends mid-sentence. They find you on the second morning after the storm. Not because they were looking, because they passed by, following tracks, searching for dry wood. A glint of roof under snow caught one of their eyes. They opened the door slowly. Not from caution, from habit. You don't answer. Of course. The room is still. Cold. Air thick with old smoke mildew and the metallic scent of something off. They step inside. Two of them. One younger one limping. They spot you almost immediately. You're on the floor, curled slightly. One boot on. Blanket mostly wrapped. Arms folded on your chest. Head tilted sideways as if listening. No drama. No mess. Just stillness. They don't speak. They don't cry. They've seen this before. Too many times. You are not the first. They check your breath anyway. Gently. A finger under your nose. A hand on your wrist. No movement. No heat. The younger one closes your eyes. They were already half shut. The older one checks the room. Half a candle, a shattered bowl, burnt logs, long gone cold, no food, no fire, no fight left. They nod to each other. It's understood. They wrap you in the blanket tighter, not for dignity, for transport. The younger one lifts your legs. The older one takes your shoulders. You are light, terribly light. A whisper of who you were. They carry you outside. The sun is out, bright, clear, a cruel kind of beautiful. The snow crunches underfoot. Crows circle overhead. Somewhere far off a dog barks. Life continues. They don't bury you here. They take you down the hill, past the tree line, to the hollow where others have been laid. It isn't marked, just a shallow dip in the earth. Stones scattered, crosses rotting. They dig, not deep. The ground is stiff, frozen in layers. They place you inside. No words, no prayer, no song, just a moment, a pause, a look. Then the dirt returns. The shape disappears. The snow will cover it by evening. They stand a moment longer. Then they go. The wind picks up. The door to your shelter swings shut behind them. And for a moment, just a moment, it feels like you were never there at all. Spring returns without fanfare. The snow doesn't melt it, withdraws, slowly, reluctantly, leaving behind soggy soil, broken branches, bones of last year's green. The shelter still stands. Crooked, leaning. One wall has caved, revealing the inside like a dollhouse. The roof droops under months of damp. Moss climbs the edges. A bird nests in the rafters. Inside, everything's changed. The floor is soft with mold. A squirrel has torn cloth into nesting fluff. The woodpile is gone. The fire pit is flooded. Your blanket, what's left of it, lies curled in a corner, half buried in leaves. No one comes here now. The path is overgrown. Shoots sprout between footprints long erased. The wind no longer remembers your scent. The forest has other things to do. A tree begins to grow beside the shelter, not tall yet, but determined. Its roots press against the foundation. In time, it will split the wall completely. Nature is patient. Insects have claimed the space. Beetles, spiders, tiny kings in a forgotten kingdom. They move with purpose through the ruins, rewriting your story in silk and soil. Rain filters through the roof. Pools briefly, then sinks into earth. Your tin cup lies on its side, rusting with dignity. A moth drinks from it before fluttering off. Where you were buried, there is now a scatter of wildflowers. They didn't ask to bloom here, but they did. Yellow, small, resilient, the only colour in a field of wet brown. No one remembers your name. The ones who knew you left, or died, or forgot. The record of you exists only in the bend of a branch, the discoloration of wood, the faint shape your body once pressed into the dirt. But the earth remembers the weight. The silence remembers the voice. The wind perhaps carries a particle of your breath still. A fox walks past the shelter. Pauses. Sniffs. Moves on. Time doesn't erase. It layers. What you were is now mulch, structure, nutrient. You were consumed not just by hunger or cold or time, but by place. And the place doesn't mind. It continues to grow. You died. Quietly, without fanfare, without meaning songs or last words or history books. And yet, you existed. For a time you struggled. You fought the cold. You rationed and feared and starved and hoped. You named the days, counted the wood, whispered prayers to a God who never whispered back. You failed. But failure was never personal. This place this time was never designed for you, or for most. It broke strong men. It swallowed women whole. It unmade children before they had a chance to name their dreams. You were not special. That isn't cruelty. That's context. The earth doesn't hate you. It just doesn't know you. It didn't kill you to punish. It didn't test you. It didn't care. You think now beyond the edge of breath about legacy. What remains? What mark you left? And the answer is very little. A dent in a floorboard, a cracked bowl, a tuft of wool stuck in a branch, a memory buried in another person's fading thoughts. But isn't that always the case? Most who've lived leave little behind. Most disappear into the folds of time like drops into rivers. Some get stones, fewer get names on paper, even fewer get remembered beyond that. So why resist? Why fight so hard? Because that's what life does. Not in glory, not in heroism, just in motion, just in trying. The ant builds, the flower blooms, the child reaches, the breath returns until it doesn't. Your struggle didn't matter, but your struggling did. Because it was real. Because it happened. Because for a few brief moments, a fragile being in an impossible world said not yet. You lost, yes, but you tried, and that is enough. Nature will reclaim what you were. It already has. The moss, the root, the worm. They don't know your name, but they carry you now. You aren't gone, you've changed form. That's the truth, nothing ends. It only transforms. What were you? A mind, a body, a hope, a flicker. What are you now? Soil, warmth, echo. You wanted your life to mean something. It did. It meant this. A single human heartbeat inside a vast, unconcerned beauty that never stops growing. You sit in a warm room, phone in hand, or maybe a laptop, screen glowing, electricity humming, heat vent whispering comfort behind you. You read. You scroll back. You pause on details on the final breath, the empty bowl, the sound of snow falling on a dead roof. You blink, swallow, rub your face like it helps. It's just a story, but it isn't. You look up, look around. Everything feels louder now, softer, stranger. The fridge hums, a car passes, pipes click. You remember the character's silence. You sip coffee. It's still hot, still sweet. You didn't think much when you made it. Now it tastes like luxury, like civilization, like life. You stand and walk to the window. Outside birds, trees, concrete, maybe snow, maybe sun, but not that kind of snow, not survival snow. You tap the glass. It doesn't fog with breath. You haven't shivered all day. You wonder who that person was, the one who died. You wonder what their voice sounded like, what their laugh sounded like before the cold took it. You feel them now. Not in a ghost story way, in a mirror way, because they weren't some distant relic. They were you minus timing, minus technology. They bled like you, feared like you, fought like you. But they didn't win. You did, by accident of birth. You wonder what they would think of you now, of your food, your thermostat, your glowing rectangles full of music and news and distraction. Would they envy, pity, laugh? You remember complaining last week about traffic, about your internet being slow, about the grocery store being out of oat milk. You think about their last meal, a turnip. You sit down. You feel heavy, not guilty, not exactly, but aware. Aware of how thin the line is, how close you still are to all of it. The hunger, the cold, the silence, the snow. You reread the part where they hallucinated a voice calling their name, and suddenly you wonder, what if you are their hallucination? What if this warmth, this ease, this modern miracle was just the dying dream of someone who never had it? You shake your head, smile, close the tab. But a part of you doesn't forget. You carry the story now, and maybe, just maybe, you'll carry it differently. With more pause, more grace, more awe at the mundane. Because someone once froze to death so you could sit by a screen and read about it, the ground remembers. Not like humans do not with stories or names or anniversaries. The memory of the land is slower, deeper, unspoken, but it holds everything. It remembers where your body fell. Not because you were special, but because you returned. You came back to it, flesh to soil, bone to dust, breath to wind. It remembers the weight of you, the days you trudged across its face, the nights you shivered against its floor, the shallow imprint your shelter left in its skin. It holds all of it. It remembers your fire, the ash that sank into moss, the char that blackened stone, the warmth you gave it, brief flickering now gone. But the soot remains, molecules of your struggle buried beneath grass. It remembers your blood, soaked into roots, dispersed through rainfall, carried in worms, fed to beetles. The essence of you now scattered in seeds and fur and feces, a strange sort of immortality. The land doesn't judge. It doesn't mourn or celebrate. It simply absorbs, incorporates, adjusts, the same way it did with the deer, the sparrow, the bear cub that starved last winter, all equal now. It remembers the sound of your steps, the pattern you made daily desperate, from door to river, from tree to trap, from nowhere to nowhere. It remembers the rhythm, the vibration, even after the prints faded, even after the ice filled them. It remembers your silence, that last long stillness, the absence of movement, of breath, of noise. It pressed around you not cruelly but completely, like a blanket heavier than snow. And it remembers those who came after. How they dug, laid you in, covered you up, how the earth shifted slightly to make space, how it did not complain or crack. You belong to it now, not as a burden, but as an offering, a nutrient, a chapter, a footprint in its story. The trees remember too. They grew through you, around you, into the air you once exhaled. Their rings hold the year you died, a tight band, a hard one, the kind drought leaves, or grief. The wind remembers your voice. Not the words, but the shape of your breath, the way it pushed leaves, bent grass, disturbed pollen. You are still in the cycle, still moving, still echoing. You wanted to be remembered. You are. Not in books, not in marble. In root, in rot, in regrowth. The land forgets nothing. Even when no one is left to tell, he arrives just before dusk. Not in haste, not in fear. Just a man travelling alone, boots caked in mud satchels slung across one shoulder. He follows no trail, only instinct and necessity. The trees part slowly. He notices the break in the underbrush, a clearing too deliberate to be natural. He steps into it wary. The light here is softer, filtered through branches like old lace. The structure catches his eye. Collapsed, rotted, half swallowed by moss and root, one wall still standing, the rest leaning like tired men after a long war. He pauses, takes it in. He doesn't know who lived here. He doesn't ask. But he walks closer steps, light, almost reverent. The air feels thick, not heavy exactly, but aware, as if the space itself is holding its breath. He finds no tools, no signs of a name, just fragments. A rusted nail, a bone button, the soft curl of something once burned and now forgotten. He kneels near the corner, runs his fingers through the soil, finds a shard of pottery, holds it up to the light, turns it, pockets it. Not to keep, just to carry. He doesn't see the grave. The ground has healed too well. Grass has taken it back. The wildflowers bloom without pattern, no marker, no warning, no need. But he walks near it, close enough that the hair on his arms rises, not from fear, from some older instinct, the one that recognizes sacred space, even without explanation. He touches the remaining wall, lets his hand rest there a moment. The wood is soft, damp, warm from the sun. He leans his head against it briefly, not thinking, just tired, just still. The birds chirp. The wind shifts. He doesn't know it, but he's the first person to stand here in many years. The land remembers. He does not. Still, some part of him feels it. An echo in his spine, a flicker in his chest, a dream he'll forget by morning. He breathes in deep, smells moss smoke time. Then he moves on. Back into the trees, back into the roadless dark. The forest closes behind him, leaves sway, light fades. And just like that, history brushes against flesh without either one noticing. I was there. When you first stepped into the forest, breath clouding in front of you, boots too clean, eyes too loud. I tugged at your collar, tasted your fear, carried your scent to the trees. I've touched them all. The settlers, the wanderers, the lost and found and never found again. I curled around their throats when they screamed. I whispered lullabies when they died. I do not judge. I remember. Your voice once passed through me, soft, cracked, cold. A question maybe, a plea. I carried it as far as I could. It dissolved somewhere above the treetops. That's not failure. That's nature. I wove through your shelter. I lifted smoke from your fire, spread it thin, gave warning to creatures nearby. Someone lives here. For a while. I danced through the cracks in your walls, stole heat from your fingers, but I also brought breath, movement, the sound of something other than silence. I watched you shrink. Not with cruelty, with awe. Humans fold so quickly, bend, fade. One missed harvest and your skin loosens. One deep frost and your bones protest every motion. Still you tried. I remember your hands shaking, the way you scraped bark, the way you lit fire with shaking fingers, the way you held your breath like it was gold. You thought no one saw. But I did. I drifted through your hair as you wept, carried the scent of your last meal, felt your chest rise and fall one last time. I was the one who left the door open afterward. You think that was coincidence? I am not just movement. I am memory. I am transition. And now I carry you. In particles. In warmth. In ash. You're in the soil, yes, but also in the sky. In the echo of breath through branches. In the hush before storms. You speak through me now. Every gust through the trees is a syllable of your story. Every rustle a verse. Every whistle across a roof beam a lament. I blow past others now. They don't hear you, but they feel something. A pause, a shiver, a thought they can't explain. That's you. You'll never be known, but you'll never be lost. Not while I move. I am older than stone, quieter than death, and I remember everything, and so it ends. Not with a scream, not with fire, but with a quiet so deep it becomes part of the land. What was once struggle becomes stillness. What was once body becomes soil. What was once fear becomes memory. The wind no longer whispers your name. It carries it, without effort, without urgency, a permanent passenger on the breath of the world. The place remains. The trees grow thicker now. Branches that once watched in silence now reach above and lock fingers. The forest floor softens with years. Dead leaves upon dead leaves. No footprints. No visitors. Just time. And time isn't cruel. It isn't kind. It just is. It sands down everything. Sharp moments become rounded edges. Screams become silence. Names become dust. But dust doesn't disappear. It settles, rests, waits. Spring returns, again and again. Snow falls and vanishes. The sun rises, not remembering what came before and not needing to. And beneath it all you rest. Untroubled. Not gone, not forgotten, just done. You were never meant to conquer this world. You were meant to feel it. And you did. You felt the hunger, the cold, the love, the despair, the flicker of firelight in a storm. You felt the weight of survival, the ache of wanting, the grace of one more breath. That was enough. It didn't need more. No one will mark your grave. No one will tell your story. But the story still exists. In the rust on old nails, in the way birds scatter at the snap of a branch, in the hush that falls in certain places for no reason at all. You lived, you ended, and the world continued. That is the truth of it. Not tragic, not heroic, just real. The final fire died long ago, but the ember remains, buried in the bones of a tree, in the pulse of soil, in the wind before rain. Somewhere a child walks a trail without knowing why it feels sacred. Somewhere a bird lands on the stump that once held your wall. Somewhere someone breathes deeply and thanks a world they didn't build, not knowing they breathe in pieces of those who came before. And you are part of that breath. Forever.